Hi Aries, happy early birthday and welcome back to the Astrology 33 channel. This is your March 2026 tarot reading. Thank you to those of you who have liked, viewed, shared, and subscribed to the channel. I appreciate all of that. For those of you new to the channel, as far as what we have in front of us, it's a 12 card spread with each of those cards representing a different house of the zodiac, starting with your sign representing the first house, all the way through to the 12th house represented by Pisces. And once we get through that main spread, we'll actually pull an oracle card for some additional insight. As far as the decks being used, for the main tarot deck, we have the Spirit Keeper's Tarot, and for the oracle deck, we'll be using the Wisdom Oracle. We're actually going to start the reading off by rolling those astrology eyes we have in front of us to get an idea of where your focus should be as far as that goes. Alright, so we have Libra. For you guys, Libra is your 7th house, and 7th house in general points to partnerships, contracts, relationships. That area of the zodiac's a little quiet currently, but we'll keep that in mind. We have Neptune, so it definitely makes sense to see this come up because Neptune recently re-entered your sign, and it's going to be there for quite some time. But yeah, Neptune sometimes could point to a little bit of deception, right? But also increased spirituality, increased intuition. It's just a matter of trying to figure out, what's actually real versus what's imagined. So that could be the difficult thing that you might be grappling with a little bit as you get adjusted to the energy. But given how long it's been in your 12th house, you're probably a little bit acclimated with that already. And we have 5. So 5th house energy for you guys is Leo. Astrologically speaking, that area of zodiac's a little quiet now as well. But yeah, 5th house in general points to romance, creativity, and children. So we'll keep all that in mind as we go through the main spread. So in the first house, which in general points to personality, self-awareness, and appearance, we have the 9 of Orbs. So this is the equivalent of the 9 of Pentacles, which is a Virgo energy. So you could see the symbolism there. So yeah, this could just be saying that you might be a little bit more self-focused this month. Could just be saying that you're actually very independent, I feel like, is ultimately what it's coming across as here, which does fit the Aries archetype to an extent, right? But I feel like this is saying that you could just be relying on yourselves and really just generating for yourselves as well, right? Which is the positive there. So it's one thing to be in your own path, but to actually be creating for yourselves and seeing tangible proof of that as well is the positive. All right, in the second house, which in general points to possession, self-worth, and finances, we have the 7 of Swords. So this is Aquarius energy here. So yeah, so at the very least to me, I would say this would be an indicator to be cautious around signing any contracts this month, which would make sense anyway because you guys have Mercury retrograde about to start off in your 12th house. Excuse me, which is definitely a bit of a tricky energy there. So yeah, I feel like this is saying just be cautious around signing contracts or just entering into agreements with anyone this month because you might not be seeing the full picture clearly, and it might be one of those situations where the agreement might just benefit the other party a lot more than it does you. In the third house, which in general points to communication, short journeys, and siblings, we have the 8 of Chalices. So this is the equivalent to the 8 of Cups, Piscean energy there. And again, like we said, between seeing the Pisces symbolism and the fact that I just mentioned that there will be Mercury retrograde in Pisces, which Mercury retrograde could definitely impact communication, I feel like this is saying that you might actually be keeping yourselves a little bit more anyway when it comes to communication, right? Maybe styles of communication that you normally would embrace, you might not be as interested in this month, right? Maybe you might feel like conversations you have with people aren't really as deep as you'd like them to be, so you could just be leaving behind that kind of stuff, right? So maybe if you were more comfortable with small talk just for connecting, that might really not suit what you're looking for this month. It's just one generic example, but hopefully that resonated. For the 4th house, which in general points to home roots and family, we have the moon. On this deck, it's referred to as the necromancer, but yeah, in traditional tarot, that's the moon. And seeing this here, well, on the one hand, the moon is the natural ruler of your 4th house, but this does make me want to look at the main lunar cycles that we'll be experiencing in March. So the first one will be a full moon eclipse in Virgo on March 3rd. So that's your sixth house of work, health, daily routines. So you could see some changes there. Then there's going to be a new moon in Pisces, which is your 12th house, and that'll be on March 18th. That could point to spirituality, mental health, blind spots. So there could be a pivotal moment for you guys there as well. And then technically this would be already in April, but on April 1st, there's going to be a full moon in Libra, which is your 7th house. And we see the Libra symbolism there too. So, but if anything, I feel like this is also saying that you're really tapping into your intuition a little bit more this month, and that maybe you feel like when you are a little bit more withdrawn, you feel like you're more able to tune in, you're able to be more discerning, you're getting more insight into situations. And I mean, that could be a natural fit too, because even though we will be entering into your season toward the end of March rather, currently this is a 12 house cycle for you guys. So that does tend to make people withdraw a little bit more before they come back out. All right, so for your 5th house energy, we have the 9 of Scepters, which is the equivalent of the 9 of Wands, which is a Sagittarius energy. But yeah, so to see this here in the 5th house, which in general points to romance, creativity, and children, you'll just be saying that you might be feeling a little bit guarded in those areas of life, right? Maybe you feel like it's always a battle to get things to go your way. Now, I feel like this is saying that you've probably gone through some rough experiences in that area of life that could lead you to feel that way. But I feel like this is saying that the positive side of that is to keep in mind that that also means that you're battle tested, right? Meaning that, hey, you don't have to abandon yourself as far as, feeling like you can't meet those challenges if you were to meet them again. So I feel like this is primarily what that's pointing to there. I mean, if you look at the name of the card in this deck, it's the Pugilist, right? So it could just be saying that even if there are some challenges that come your way in that area of life, I feel like this is saying you could definitely navigate them in a positive way. So I guess in that regard, it'd be more of a matter of cost benefit, right? Like if you really want something in that area of life, I feel like this is saying you should still go for it, even if you have had some difficult experiences, because the thing is, you could leverage those experiences to benefit you. For the 6th house, which in general points to health, work, and daily routines, we have the 8 of Scepters, which is the equivalent to the 8 of Wands, more Sagittarius energy there. So yeah, I feel like this is saying when it comes to your work lives, you're really going to feel like things are flowing this month. A lot of you might be the ones initiating those things, but either way, I feel like this is saying you're really going to be able to establish some solid routines, get everything moving in the right direction, and seeing some forward progress there. All right, for your 7th house, which, like we mentioned, that area of the zodiac's a little quiet right now, but 7th house in general pointing to partnerships, contracts, relationships. We see the Ivory Shield. In this deck is referred to as the Sanctum of the Immaculate. So the Ivory Shield, basically this is the equivalent of the Queen of Cups. So that's a more Cancerian energy here. So yeah, so I feel like this is saying that actually you might actually find that you can connect with someone on a deeper emotional level this month. So again, like we said, it's a matter of maybe having those battle scars from past experiences, right? So feeling a little bit hesitant to open up to that, but I feel like this is saying that, opening up would actually be a positive for you guys this month, even if that is later in the month, because like we said, yeah, we get it. It's Mercury retrograde right now, so be some confusion going on with that, but later we get into March, you'll feel that energy start to lift a bit. All right, so in the 8th house, which in general points to death, rebirth, intimacy, and investments, we have the Magus. So this is the equivalent of the Magician in traditional tarot. So yeah, to me, this says that you actually have the power to move things in the direction that you'd like to see them go this month. So again, like we said, it looks like maybe there's a little bit of hesitancy around that for you guys this month. But yeah, I feel like self-reliance on the one hand can be a positive for sure, but also to take that a step further to say self-reliance, but also relying on yourself to make the right decisions as far as if and when you let others in as well. So trust would be key there for yourselves too. For The ninth house, which in general points to philosophy, higher learning, and foreign affairs, we have the Five of Chalices. So this is a Scorpio energy here. So yeah, it could just be saying that for some of you. Maybe there's some long held beliefs that you might have had for quite some time, and now you might feel like they're not quite measuring up to the reality of where you are now, right? So there could be some disappointment around that because you might feel like having those beliefs might have caused you to miss some opportunities, right? Possibly waste some time. But I feel like this is saying, this is a month where you have an opportunity to pivot away from focusing on those situations, maybe the things you do feel were missed opportunities, and look more toward the positive growth and potential that those experiences left you with. All right. In the 10th house, which in general points to career and social status, we have the Chariot. So this is Cancerian energy here. And to see this and then seeing the watery energy in your 7th house, the positive momentum we see in the 6th house, I feel like this is saying that ultimately this month in your careers, you might feel like you're just being led in the direction that maybe was a long time coming on the one hand, but maybe there's some resistance to it for a while. And I feel like this is ultimately saying that you might start to pick up on the fact that you might even feel like even if you're not consciously making these decisions in that area of life, you might just feel like there's something leading you down that path. I feel like this is definitely an indicator of positive growth and momentum in that area of life as well. But yeah, and I feel like at the very least, this is going to point to something you feel a bit of an emotional connection to as well, right? So let's say with your career, right, it might start to feel a little bit more like home. You might feel a little bit more comfortable in that environment. But yeah, I feel like this is all pointing to forward momentum for sure. And this does make me think of the fact that, even though for you guys, Cancerian energy is fourth house energy versus 10th house energy, but given that the chariot does represent Cancerian energy, it makes me think of the fact that Jupiter will start direct motion on the 10th of March. So that could be what's leading to that shift there. All right, so for 11th house energy, pointing to friendships, groups, hopes, and wishes, we have the Shining Quarry. So this is basically the equivalent of the Knight of Pentacles. So yeah, so this could just be saying that when it comes to the groups you deal with, right, and pursuing certain things, it could just be saying I feel like ultimately you will be taking steps forward, but I feel like this is saying that you're also going to take things slow, though, right? So, which might be the right way to go with things for now, like we said, given the astrological transits taking place. But I feel like this is saying that the key is still, though, to make some movement, right? So rather than just staying completely still, so yes, it's good to be cautious, right? To look back on those experiences from the past and say, well, you know what, things went a little off the rails here, there, and time and time again, possibly for some of you too. I feel like this is saying, but look at those as learning situations and then say that okay, I'm still going to move forward, though, knowing that those situations took place in the past. But even though they were disappointments, they're also things that I can learn from in the present if I'm to be encountered with those situations again, confronted with those situations again. All right, and in the 12th house, which in general points to spirituality, blind spots, and mental health, we have the Tower. So, as you can see, some pretty intense energy with the artwork here. Is this the case with most decks? But to see this in the 12th house, I feel like this could be a little bit more of a positive. And what I mean by that, it could just be saying that if there is something that's been holding you back for a while, right? So, like we said, maybe some fears around some situations, or maybe just replaying things over and over again in your mind, right? And being hard on yourselves around some situations that might not have gone how you would have liked in the past. Like this is saying that ultimately, this month there's going to be some energy that kind of rips that apart from you, might not feel the most comfortable in the moment, but I feel like it's ultimately going to lead to a positive shift for you guys. And I will say, given that this is a 12th house energy too, and like I mentioned, we will be moving into your season toward the end of March, and then a lot more planetary energy will be moving through your sign as well. Seems like the timing's just right for it. Again, not to throw aside the fact that it might not feel too comfortable in the moment. And bottom of the deck, we have the Two of Scepters. So this is actually an Aries energy here. It represents the first 10 degrees of Aries. So yeah, this could definitely be pointing to how you're feeling as we get toward the end of March. And if we look at the name of the card in this particular deck, it actually says the Discerning One, right? So that goes back to what I was saying, to where, you know, rather than let these past situations and past disappointments you might have gone through completely hold you back from taking action. I feel like this is saying the key there wasn't to stop you from movement, but more to, yes, look at those situations that you've learned from and be more discerning as you move forward, but still, I feel like you're being guided to still continue to move forward nonetheless. With, again, like I said, with faith that the experiences you have gone through are going to help you get through any further disruptions if you were to encounter them, which it doesn't look like there's necessarily a lot of indicators that you would, you know. So that could be where, like I said, maybe if you felt like you've held yourselves back a little bit in some way, you could be feeling that energy start to lift as we move through March. We'll see what the Oracle card has to mix. So, like I mentioned, we're going to pull a card from the Wisdom Oracle deck here. I'm just going to give this a few more shuffles, and then we'll cut the deck and pull a card. All right, take this card. We get this out of the way, and then we'll see what cards you got. All right, we have a change in the wind. There's the artwork, and the number is 12. So interesting, right? 12, we were just talking about 12th house energy. Now, Pisces is a natural 12th house energy, but obviously for you guys, it's a fit for 12th house energy as well. And like we said, we could just be going through that, and then as we get toward the end of the March, a lot more energy is going to shift out of your 12th and into your first house. But we'll see what it says in the book. All right. Essential meanings says a sensed and unseen change has been initiated, preparation for a storm, awareness that your plans are not on firm ground, feeling a shift, uncertainty about which direction the winds will blow. The Oracle's message: it's human nature to yearn for certainty and resist change, to want the world to remain consistent like a zebra's stripes. Yet nothing in human experience is black and white, nor will anything remain static. The one thing guaranteed is change. Now is the time of transformation, as outer conditions are temporarily moving out of sync with your desires and expectations. Stay the course and remember that even storms serve to clear the air, scatter seeds, and nourish the soil for better things ahead. Life is about to get interesting. Anticipate it with curiosity as you wonder what is coming in on the shifting winds. The unknown is where the magic lies. So yeah, so the unknown is where the magic lies is an interesting message there, because makes me think of the moon energy in your fourth house that we spoke about earlier. Like I said, it does seem like there is a little bit of a difficulty for you guys right now to trust experiences. But again, like I said, Mercury retrograde taking place in your 12th house could definitely cause that more than usual, if nothing else. The relationship message says relationships go through periods where partners seem out of sync with each other, and stormy emotions and moods threaten to take down the ship. Perhaps someone has a change of heart and leaves. These rough seas offer opportunities for mutual growth, a way for you to understand your own heart better, and to know what you need to be truly happy. Rest assured that whatever is happening now, good will come from it. Take temporary shelter and remove yourself from drama. The air will clear, and everything will be fresh and new again. This too shall pass. So yeah, so that's definitely a positive message there as well, especially given that fifth house energy we spoke about, right, where you might be feeling a little bit guarded and feeling like, you've gone through some tough times there. And the prosperity message says, as you endeavor to create a prosperous life, you may encounter unexpected reversals that cause you to shift directions. This is a good thing, so there is nothing to fear. Perhaps an opportunity you sought went to someone else. Perhaps you've pursued something that you suddenly realize is not in your highest good. You might not be 100% clear on where you need to go, but you are certain that things are not going as planned. Circumstances are not in your control right now. Wait it out. All be well. Even better, actually. Trust. So yeah, so definitely a positive message there, right? Especially the wait it out part. Because like I said, it could just be as simple as, you have a lot of energy going on in your 12th house for one. And then, like I said, one of those energies happens to be the fact that we'll have Mercury retrograde kicking off in a couple of days here in your 12th house. So to me, it's all an indicator that even if you feel a little bit on shaky ground right now, especially the discerning one we see, which, like we said, is an Aries energy at the bottom of the deck, I feel like this is saying that as we get toward the end of March, where you might feel those things as more of like blockages currently, the further we get into the month, I feel like you're going to start to see them as learning experiences and growth opportunities, and then you'll feel more confident moving forward from there. But once again, like I said, a happy early birthday. Hopefully that resonated. We'll wrap up there. All right. Bye.